What's going on YouTube? So BMW, of course, has a really wide range of luxury crossovers in their lineup, and that all started with the introduction of their first SUV, the BMW X5. It remains one of the most popular vehicles in the BMW lineup to this day, and for good reason. Today we're with the latest 2023 example, and we're going to go over the whole vehicle as well as talk about what changes have been made this year. So without wasting any time, let's go ahead and dive right into this review. Alrighty, so let's go ahead and get things started here with the exterior. Now I can go ahead and tell you that for 2023, BMW has not adjusted anything with the exterior design for the X5. And as you can see, it does continue on with that more traditional BMW look as compared to something like its big brother X7, which we sampled a couple weeks ago, which has all the newest and somewhat controversial elements. So here in the front, you'll continue to see BMW's traditional kidney grille. We do have the M Sport model for today's example. That's going to give you all these sportier elements, including a much more aggressive lower fascia. And since we have the extended shadow line trim, that's going to give you a fully blacked out kidney grille. Let's go ahead and also take a look at our headlights. Once again, it does have the traditional design, which is all a single piece. These are going to be fully LED, of course, and they are adaptive as standard equipment. Now taking a look next at our wheel options, you start out with a 19-inch alloy wheel, and then you've got approximately 1,000 options in between 19 and 22 inches. We've got the 21-inch alloy wheel, which this is probably my favorite design in the entire lineup. I do like how you have the contrast finish and the big spokes, which show off our model's optional blue brake calipers. And then as we rise up here to our mirrors, as you'd expect for a luxury SUV, you've got all the features and their standard equipment. So you have standard blind spot monitoring, heating, auto dimming, and power folding.
All right, guys, so let's go ahead and talk about the side of the BMW X5. Now, in terms of the overall length, we're looking at 194.3 inches, which is a good size for the segment. And in terms of design, you will notice that we have the M Sport model on this particular X5, and that's going to give us the body color lower moldings. The other X5 models would have a more rugged finish. That's kind of a matte plastic. And we're also going to get the blacked out window surrounds as well as the blacked out roof rails for a nice sportier look. And I do go ahead and apologize for my voice. I'm in the process of losing my voice thanks to the Kentucky allergies. Now, as far as the rear design of this BMW X5, we do have a really nice and classy one. That's really the biggest thing about the design of the X5 that I'm a fan of, is that it's just classy and elegant. It's really a timeless design. And for 2023, they're not going to be changing anything, so we do have a nice rear wiper right here. And then as far as our taillights are concerned, once again, classy and elegant. We have a nice LED accenting going all the way around it. They are full LED, and this doubles as your brake light and turn signal indicator. And then your reverse light is also LED integrated in the lower part. Now, dropping down to the lower diffuser area, like I said, it's going to be all finished in body color since we do have that M Sport model. We're also going to have a more aggressive diffuser area with larger exposed exhaust outlets for the M Sport. And as far as your tow rating is concerned, we're looking at 70 to 100 pounds on every single X5 model. Now let's talk about your safety systems and warranty information. So as far as your safety systems, all X5s are going to come with forward emergency braking with pedestrian detection. And if you want some of the more advanced safety systems, they do offer a driver's assistance professional package, and that includes all of your very advanced safety systems like lane keeping assist, adaptive cruise control, as well as your auto high beam headlamps. Now, as far as your warranty information is concerned, for your 50,000 miles for your basic and powertrain warranty, BMW also includes 3 years of complimentary maintenance. But guys, that's going to wrap up the beautiful X5 on the outside. Now let's check out the luxurious interior before we take it out for a spin.
So heading up to this X5, you will continue to find a standard smart entry system on all versions with the typical BMW key fob, which is very, very nice. As far as remote start, that is going to be included when you choose to have the premium package. Of course, reach behind the handle to unlock the door. The mirrors will fold electrically out. So there's a quick look at the cabin as a whole, and we'll go ahead and climb inside. Now, 2023 is not a full refresh year for the X5, but I do think there's an update you will notice, and that's the fact that we have a new seat design. So the previous Sensatech leatherette has been replaced with what BMW calls Sensafin, and this new material, it continues to be a leatherette, but what you're going to notice is that we have a lot more stitching details and quilting throughout the seat. Really makes even this base seat look extremely premium. And I will also say this is a very, very realistic interpretation of leather, and you probably won't even notice the difference. BMW is actually so certain in that fact that they have discontinued the Vernasca leather option, although you still can get the optional extended merino leather. Now, as far as your color options, you do have the option of Silverstone, coffee, black, or the cognac, which you see here today, which is personally my favorite option. Now turning over here to our seat adjustments, you do have a 16-way power adjusting seat as standard equipment. It does have a manual thigh extension as well as adjustable side bolsters, and you can get a 20-way adjusting seat with massaging available. But let's go ahead and look around the overall cabin materials because this continues to be one of the best areas about the X5. It has a beautifully well executed interior, starting here with the door trim. We have leather over pretty much every single surface, including the very top of it. You will find standard two-person memory seating. You also have 4 fully automatic windows. As we move to the upper part of the dash, this is also finished in a nice leatherette material. As you can see, stitching details run throughout it. We have ambient lighting that runs through there. Big piece of wood through the middle. You've got 8 different trims that you can choose between. This is a high gloss wood option, but there are also open pore options if you prefer that. You'll see that wood down through here as well, and more leather along the center console for your knee to rest against. Now to start it up, your push button start is located down here on the console. After you fire up the vehicle, you will be greeted with a 12.3-inch digital cockpit professional system. This is, of course, as you can tell, a fully reconfigurable digital gauge cluster. You can change many elements of the design. And in addition to that, we also have a very customizable head-up display. Right now we're in the basic configuration, but if I press this button here on the steering wheel, you can see that you can go through actually a lot of different settings and things up here inside of the head-up display without taking your eyes off the road. So I'm very impressed by that. This has expanded availability for 2023. Now, as we pull back here to the steering wheel, we do have BMW's lovely M design steering wheel if you choose to have the M Sport model, which we do today. It's even got a leather-covered airbag cover. The steering wheel itself is going to be power adjusting on all models. Steering wheel heating is going to be optional, and when you choose to have steering wheel heating, you will also get heated armrest as well. But let's go ahead and get into the interior storage. So as we turn over here to our center console, let's open that up. It does have the butterfly opening. And as you can see, inside you have a decent amount of storage. You do have a rubber lining down there at the bottom and a USB-C port. But nothing's officially good if it cannot swallow up these coupons. So let's see how they fit. Looks like they are going to fit, and I can close the lid, no problem. Now underneath of this piece of wood, this is where you're going to find your 2 cup holders. It's also where you're going to find a large storage area for loose objects and a large wireless phone charging pad. This is going to be included with the premium package. Now pulling back to the shifter, unlike the X7, which was just updated to have the little nub shifter, this one does come with the more classic design for the BMW shifter. As you can see, we do also have the optional glass controls, so it has a really nice look to it, as well as the glass over here on the iDrive controller. As far as the operation, you're just going to pull back for drive. You do have paddle shifters on the steering wheel for manual shifting, and press all the way up for reverse. When you go into reverse, you do have a standard backup camera. However, since we have the parking assistance package, that's going to give us the 360-degree camera system you see right here. We do also have that backup assistant, as well as automatic parallel and perpendicular parking abilities. And lastly, you can click that button right there and go into a three-dimensional view, and that will allow you to spin all around the vehicle, which is a really cool touch. Then for parking, you're going to press that little P right there on the shifter. You do have an electronic parking brake with brake hold behind it. Now as we move up the dashboard, the next place you arrive is your audio controls and your volume knob. So technically you do have a standard 10-speaker sound system. However, most of the models are going to come with the optional 12-speaker 360-watt Harman Kardon sound system. Furthermore, there is another option for those of you who just really, really love music. That is a 20-speaker Bauer & Wilkins sound system. Now, I do want to say, though, that because I'm having some technical difficulties today with my phone, I'm not going to be able to give you guys the typical audio sample, but as we've sampled in past years, this is a really, really strong audio system. Now, as we move above that, the next place we come to are climate controls. So you do have a standard dual zone climate control setup and available quad zone automatic setup, which is what we have today. Once again, in contrast to the X7, which we just tested a couple weeks ago, this does retain the traditional controls with physical buttons versus that model which has moved to a full touchscreen based climate system. As you can see, making those adjustments is very easy. Use these nice metal toggles through there. Off to the side, you do also have the 3-stage heated seats, and if you want a seat ventilation, you would have to choose the luxury seating package. And let's go ahead and check out the display. So this is a 12.3-inch display. Like I already showed you, you can use the iDrive controller, or you can also just touch it if you want to use that simpler interface. We do have a built-in navigation system, so that's what that's going to look like. And then the other critical feature that I think people want to know about is the fact that we do have Android Auto and Apple CarPlay abilities. They're both going to be wireless. Rising on up, we do have an auto-dimming mirror, 3 HomeLink universal remotes built into the bottom of it. Of course, full LED lighting. And then as I turn over here, we have a large panoramic sunroof, and this is also going to be included as standard equipment.
Well, guys, here we are in the back seat of the BMW X5, and as far as the amenities back here, nothing's going to really change for 2023, so let's go ahead and dive into the space figures first. So we're looking at 37.4 inches of legroom, 40.8 inches of headroom, which is pretty good for this segment of vehicle. It's going to be a little bit less legroom than the Mercedes GLE, but you do have more headroom, so I guess if you're a taller folk, you might actually appreciate the BMW X5's more headroom. Now, as far as the features are concerned, let's hop into that. We do have a nice center area here with our vents. If we drop below that, you do also notice that we have 4-zone climate control. That's an option on this particular X5, but that's very nice that each passenger back here can adjust their own temperature. Also packaged with that is going to be the 3-stage heated rear seats. Dropping below that, we have a little storage cubby, and then in the very bottom area, we have a 12-volt power outlet. Now, as far as the center armrest, we can fold that down. It's nicely leather wrapped, and if we want our cup holders, we just push this little button. That releases them, and you do have 2 good-sized cup holders right there. Now, I also want to point out in the back of each seat back, you do have a USB Type-C port as well. Now, also on the B-pillar, we have more vents. And then taking a look at our door trim, we do have a really nicely finished door trim. We have nice leather on the upper part, leather on the armrest portion, some ambient lighting, some wood trim, and we do even have bottle storage down in the very bottom. And I do want to point out even the soft touch material down in the very lower area is nicely soft touch. No rear window sunshades, though, on this model. Now, walking up to the BMW X5's cargo department, you do have a standard power tailgate. It's also going to have hands-free abilities, so just kick your foot under the bumper to open it up. And as you can see, it works really well, and if you use the foot activation, it additionally opens not just this part, but also the bottom part as well. So that's definitely very nice. And speaking of that, the X5 does have the two-part opening tailgate, like what we've seen in the BMW X7. So that's really nice if you want a tailgate or whatnot. You can just sit here. That makes for a really nice loading in area. Now, as far as the space is concerned for the cargo department, we're looking at 33.9 cubic feet behind the second row seats. As a maximum, we're looking at a little over 72 cubic feet with those seats folded. That's basically identical to the Mercedes-Benz GLE for reference, and as you can tell, there is just tons of space, especially behind the second row. I mean, you can fit pretty much anything you're going to need. I think this is a very spacious offering, really, for most people's needs. Now, as far as some of the finishings, we do have a really nice carpeting along the floor. If we lift up the floorboard, you will notice that we do have a spare tire. That is actually an option on this particular X5. We also have LED lighting on both the sides, a cargo cover, and the seats do fold 40-20-40 split folding. One thing I will point out, though, there is no release here in the cargo department for those seats. Now your passenger seat is going to be power adjusting, as you would expect, and we do even have nice features like the bolster adjustment here on the passenger side. Now if we open up the glove box, we do have a very nicely finished glove box. As you can see, there is a lot of space in here as far as the coupons. I know you're driving a Beamer, but you can still save money on food. We're going to go to Fazoli's for our inflation-beating deals. 5 meals for under $5. And you just throw that in there. It's also nicely felt lined and LED illuminated. Up top, we do have a sun visor, a little slender mirror. We also have LED illumination, and we can also detach it and extend it out.
Alright, so there's a quick jolt of acceleration in this X5. So we actually have the standard engine option, the low-powered option, even though this still has plenty of power, as you just saw. So what we have underneath of the hood of this xDrive 40i model is a 3-liter turbocharged inline 6-cylinder paired with their 48-volt mild hybrid system. Altogether, it's going to be making 335 horsepower and 330 pound-feet of torque.
Yeah, and this motor, we've said it in previous X5 reviews, is just so refined. I mean, truly, the acceleration is just effortless. Like, these inline 6-cylinder engines are just some of the best motors that money can buy, regardless of how much money you're really wanting to spend. It just is so good, and also the performance is pretty impressive as well. This model goes 0 to 60 in 5.3 seconds, which is quite quick for a SUV in its base engine configuration. And it's worth noting that's actually more standard power than the Mercedes-Benz GLE, which comes standard with a 4-cylinder. This BMW X5 just gets you straight to this inline 6 as your base motor. Now, they do also have other engine options available as well. You have the M50i with a 4.4-liter twin-turbo V8, 523 horsepower on that model, so certainly a lot of power there, and you also have a plug-in hybrid offering as well.
Yeah, that to me is definitely the best thing about this engine. Yes, it makes plenty of power, but yeah, the smoothness and refinement overall is just really unparalleled. You basically just hear this really refined, strong sound, slightly in the background, and no vibration or any harshness at all.
No.
Now, if you're wondering what does a 48-volt mild hybrid system do, basically in this model, its main objective is going to be powering a more advanced and smoother auto start-stop system that has engaged right now. We'll see how smoothly it is when we take off. Smooth as silk.
Yeah.
I don't think that this will be a system that you'll want to turn off, but you do have the availability to turn it off if you still don't want it on.
Nice.
Right now we're just in the normal drive mode, so you can tell that they've tuned it really for like smooth, refined driving experience, but once you actually put your foot down, it kicks into a whole nother gear. Speaking of gears, let's talk about the transmission. So we do have an 8-speed automatic transmission on board. It is a fantastic transmission, as it is in many other BMW products. Smooth as silk when you're driving at a subdued, regular pace, and really fast responding when you want a lot of power.
Yeah. And while we're cruising here, let's get up to 55 to get a sound level reading. Now that is impressive. 52.3 decibels is our sound level reading. That's some of the best sound level readings we've ever gotten, and I can certainly just hear that inside of this cabin. I'm incredibly comfortable, and also it's incredibly quiet. It just sounds like a library in here. And, speaking of the comfort level, let's go ahead and discuss how this BMW X5 rides, because that's, of course, a mission with this vehicle is to be comfortable, and like Drew said earlier, it's definitely tuned for that comfort until you really start hustling it around, and this X5 is incredibly, incredibly comfortable. For having 21-inch alloy wheels on this particular model, you would never guess it sitting here on the inside. It soaks up the bumps like nothing else, and honestly it's surprising to me that this does not have an air suspension on this particular model, just because it rides that smooth, guys.
What it does have, though, is adaptive dampers. So with the M Sport package, you do get the adaptive dampers, which I can demonstrate here in just a second. Like I said, we're in comfort mode right now, so this keeps settings nice and soft, but you do have the ability to have them firm up when you go into a sport mode.
And while we're sitting here at the red light, I do want to mention your drivetrains. You have standard rear-wheel drive on all of the models, besides for the 45e plug-in hybrid, which comes standard with all-wheel drive. As far as the fuel economy is concerned, you're going to be sitting at 23 mpg combined for probably the most popular configuration, which would be the 40i xDrive. If you go for rear drive, it stays at the same 23 mpg combined, and for the V8 50i model, you're looking at 18 miles a gallon combined. Of course, you're going to have to use premium fuel as well.
Now, this is a BMW after all, so I do need to mention our driving dynamics. For a bigger SUV, it definitely handles nicely. We've gone into the sport setting, so it firms up the steering nicely, firms up the dampers a little bit as well. But this is still, at the end of the day, more of a luxury-oriented product, like Mason was mentioning. If you want the purest sport experience, then BMW has a full line of M products that you can get. But as far as, this normal version, it is definitely satisfactorily sporty, if that's a word that you can say, for everyday use.
Alrighty, guys, and let's go ahead and hop into our airball and slam dunk. So I'll kick us off with the slam dunk and say that this vehicle just has an overall refinement, and it just oozes luxury. So I think if you're looking for one of the best luxury SUVs money can buy, this X5 is certainly worth checking out. It really does everything super, super well. And as far as our airball today, it was very difficult to come up with something, but what we're going to have to say is that this X5 is pretty expensive. I'll get into the cost of this particular one in just a second, but you do have to pay to play. This is not going to be a cheap offering within the segment, that is for sure. So you're going to be starting at $61,600 for the rear drive 40i model, and then you go all the way up through the different engine configurations. The V8 version, the M50i, is going to start at $85,400. And then this particular model, as tested, this has quite a few options on it, but honestly, we're still missing a few of them that you could maybe get. We're looking at $77,595 as tested when we add in the $595 destination charge. So nearly $80,000 for this particular X5.
But overall, the X5 continues to be one of those products where when you spend time with it, it's just so obvious as to why this is such a good selling vehicle and has been one of BMW's best-selling models for a long, long time. It's just a great, well-rounded luxury SUV that really satisfies in every way.
Well, guys, thanks so much for joining us on this in-depth review of the 2023 BMW X5. If you enjoyed watching this video or found it helpful in your purchasing decisions, we surely would appreciate it if you hit that subscribe button down below. Also followed us on TikTok and Instagram. And if you would like to support the channel in a tangible way, you could go buy some of our merchandise. Anyway, we'll catch you next time as we sample more of the latest automotive delicacies.